Good morning, everyone. So my name is Melek Chaouch. I'm from Institut Pasteur de Tunis. I'm a postdoc, an old one. Yeah. So today I'm going to talk about the African population ontology, which is formally called the African ethno-linguistic ontology. So I'm going to start by some context. So the need came from the rise of the number of genomics projects. As you know, that the last decade was an exponential number of genomics projects started with the AfPO program. So African researchers expressed the need to address the difficulties of identify and define the African population in a standardized format, and to follow the recommendation and the FAIR principles. Publishing publication genetic data requires a common standardized definition. So discussion started within the data harmonization working group in Asia-Africa. So started with Alia and Amy and people. So we're looking for some kind of definition of a genetic population or an ethnic group. So who knows how many ethnic groups we have in Africa? No one. No one knows exactly how many ethnic groups we have in Africa. So that's why we are trying to look to define, to gather some data related to the African population groups in Africa. So we're looking for some kind of tools to develop or to gather all this data. So we're trying to see what is the ontology. Who knows what is the ontology? Yeah, maybe 3-4 people. Me neither. I didn't know about the ontology before. So the ontology is a set of concepts that include explicit formal specification of a concept and the relationship among them. So the ontology is based on controlled vocabulary that has a semantic and a definition, controlled definition. So it's based in some kind of hierarchy. And in this hierarchy, there is the domain and there is different terms. And each terms have to be defined. And sometimes you have a relationship between these terms, and this relationship is also defined. So the objective was to develop a tool that enabled to annotate and to define the African population groups and brings together knowledge accumulated about existing population with their genetic fingerprint and in standardized format with demographic or anthropologic data. So the AfPO can be used to comprehensively classify African participants in genomic works or to classify participants in past studies by mapping participant using of population identifier or synonym. So we will see that each term has a unique identifier and a unique definition. So how did we start? So basically we did a broad data collection. I mean, we had no restriction regarding data collection. Then we interact between the AfPO and Asia-Africa people to see their needs and how they see the ontology. So then we are trying to use a platform which is open source and collaborative. So we choose in different format, OWL, OBO, and JSON format. So for the data collection, when we focus on the African population, we try to have some descriptive data, so demographic, anthropologic, and geographic position. We had a lot of struggle with synonyms because some people, for one population or one ethnic group, we can find like 3, 4, 5, 6 synonyms. So it's different from country to country or some other places. Languages, we always talk when you see some genomics research project, so we always talk about ethno-linguistic ontology because there is a close relation between a population and the language. And sometimes you can find a population, name it, following the languages and vice versa. And then genomics data. So there's a lot of genomics data. Most of them, we'll see in details. It's related to chromosome Y and mitochondrial DNA. So basically, we are trying to look, population were mapped following the population description in articles, in Google books, in people groups. There is a lot of resources in different countries and different definition. The big family of the population, because the structure of the classification of the ethnic groups were into big families and small families. So when we talk about Bantu speakers, there is many subgroups in this population. The population estimated size, so we're trying to catch the number of people in each population, and then languages, geographic coordinates, and mitochondrial and chromosome Y haplotype, and any associated genetics, microbiota studies. So yeah, we used Wikipedia also for our data collection, as I said. So we had a broad data collection. We look everywhere. How we didn't have some kind of filter at the beginning. Then become a lot of discussion, like ethics discussion related to these resources. So we tried to look to resources there is no politics, there is no religion, there is so many resources were cancelled. And then we switched from the ethno-linguistic ontology to African population ontology, because ethnics was not really, how can I say it, it's kind of discriminative. So we try to move to population to be as clear as possible. And all we try to use data, open source data. I mean, it's available with resources, references at one. So there is no personal data. There is no data that is like corrupt or something like this. So trustfully data. So this is our workflow. So we started with data collection, focusing on demographic and genetics. We did some manual and automated creation, then move it to the review and recheck another time, then the data curation and doing, this is the second phase, so automated or manual. So gathering and formatting, technical validation, quality check in some kind of format, and then integrated in the platform. So we choose to use the Protege one. So Protege is a tool developed by the Stanford University, and there is two formats. There is the online format, which is collaborative, so everyone can have an account there and work it together. And there is a local one, you can use it on your own laptop. So, and also we use GitHub. So, and recently we had a collaboration with the EBI. They're using some kind of tools called ODK, which is Ontology Development Kit, which is very helpful to develop the ontologies. So this is the structure of the platform. So we have the hierarchy at this side. So it's some kind of structural hierarchy. We have the annotation on this side, and this is the description. The description is the relationship between the terms and the composition of the ontology. And as you may see there, so for the annotation, every single information had a resource and had the reference on it. So as I mentioned before, so we had two classes. We have the country and the population. We started by doing the continent, but it was easier for us to use the country, because country, we have a list of countries. We are collaborating with the ancestral ontology. So we have a list of the countries. For the population, we choose to divide. So this is for the countries, and this is for the population. As you may see over here, this is the unique identifier for the post. So you can see it's quite different from the countries and the population, because the country, we had the collaboration, we mapped with the ancestral ontology. So this is not our work. We developed with them, so we try to have some kind of double benefit from them, because they are referenced with the GWAS catalog. So if you go to GWAS catalog, you will find that ancestral, all the data related to diversity and ancestry is in ancestral. And for the population, so, and you have the definition for each term. Then for the population, we try to split in different regions: Central African, Eastern, Northern, and Western. So as you may know, there is no formal borders between populations. So this is politics, and population can spread everywhere. So you can find one population in 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 countries. And this is the annotation related to the country. So in the red triangle, you have the general information, demographic, anthropologic, the size of the population of the country. You have like some kind of colonial history, the languages, borders, any demographic data. The second part is related to the genetics. So we have the chromosome Y, and we have the mitochondrial DNA haplotypes. And as I mentioned, each information, each data have its own resources and reference. So for the population, we almost have the same structure. So we have the general information, demographic one, as you may see here, the SOSA. So we have AfPO, this is the ID, and the languages, the synonym, the population size, and the genetic information, the haplotypes related to chromosome Y, and the classes. So the classes is the connection between the terms. So you can see that there is some SOSA has country of origin, some in South Africa and some in Zimbabwe, and so on. Here, for example, we have the annotation for the Kotoko population. So you have the geographic position, the languages. There is some codes, specific codes in some kind of standardized or references code for languages or for other data. You have the haplotype for the mitochondrial Y, and so on. So sometimes this is population size is less than 1 million. So the description, so Central African, they're part of Central Africa, and there are some in Cameroon and some in Chad. So this is the difference between a classic classification and an ontology. So you have this relationship and you have the definition of this relationship. So to be, referenced and to be accepted at international level, so we follow some kind of rules and some kind of validation. So we contacted the OBO Foundry community, which is a community of people who's like validating the ontology. There is some kind of requirement to validate your ontology. So we started we had a lot back and forth things, starting submitting the ontology. There is some reviewing and back and forth, and then the ontology were accepted last year. And then this ontology now is accessible in the OBO Foundry, of course, in GitHub and EBI. So EBI is the Ontology Lookup Service. It's the service from the European Bioinformatics Institute. So you can see the code and the identifier for each one. And just if you want some information related to SOSA, to Bantu, just the search, and you have all details related to any population you're looking for. So this is some description about the data that we have. So the big family, there is Niger, Congo, Neuro-Saharan. So you can see that the biggest population group language speakers are the Niger, Congo ones. So it is in the Central Africa and West. And in the South, it's more into Koekwadi. We have in the North more Asiatic, Afro-Asiatic one, and in the East, Neuro-Saharan. So the name is following the geographic position. So basically, the North is originally from the Asiatic, Semitic, some of them some Arabic, some of them are Berbers. So this is a kind of description. And you can see in Madagascar, Steffi, you have a small related to Asia, Southeast Asia. So here's some presentation about the haplotype frequency. So the haplotype frequency, we didn't include yet into the ontology, but when we are looking onto and gathering and collecting the data, so we had this frequency, so we try to benefit from this one. So you can see here from the Gour population in Burkina Faso, the most frequent one are the L2A haplotype for the mitochondrial DNA. So we had a lot of challenges related basically to the data harmonization from data resources. We have a lot of synonyms, we have a lot of corrupted data. So we did a lot of manual creation and looking into different resources. We don't know if we captured all the population, especially for the islands. The mixed population annotation, because people, when they collect phenotype data or metadata from participant to some kind of project, so they present themselves belonging to some population, but we don't know is it real or not. So he can have background from two populations, but he preferred to present one or another. But it's not our problem. So we get it. The problem is we classify this guy how following his. So how can we get the resources evaluated by Africa community and African science? That's why I'm here. So it would be a pleasure that you access to the AfPO if there is any problem with that, if there's any missing data, we welcome any review and feedbacks. So our future plans, so we started the African population ontology within the AfPO project for some few years, and now we're trying to sustain it through another project called AfriGenD. So now we are more like professional. We're trying to update, to add new data. So the data review and curation of the AfriGenD member external regional experts. So we always try to connect people and to contact some experts to have feedbacks. So we are going to map the AfPO to AfBioNet databases and portals. So as you may know, there's some posters. There will be a presentation regarding some resources developed in AfBioNet. So try to map the AfPO within these resources, and then try to enable continental and international project leaders and research to use the AfPO, submit AfPO to other portals and other resources and repository like for sharing, and then translate to French, Arabic, and Portuguese. So I would like to thank all people from the AfBioNet team and the AfriGenD team. I would like to thank Alia, Nikki. I know you're waiting for the paper, but hopefully before the end of the year we will have the publication. And also I would like to thank the ISCB-Africa organizer and the ABI for the travel fellowship. Thank you so much.
We can take one question besides the paper that he must get out. Go ahead, Jay.
Okay. Thank you for your presentation. My question is, what's your answer now to the question you asked us initially? How many populations in Africa? How many nodes do you have in ontology? And second, have you entered a conversation with the individual governments of all the 54 countries in Africa to tell them, look, this is what we have for your country. Are you happy with this depiction of your population groups? Do you have something to comment on?
Yeah, so for the first question, so what is common is around like 2000 population ethnic group, but we don't have all of them because there is very ambiguous related to synonyms. Sometimes you classify 6 population, but at the end there is only one ethnic group. Yeah, for the second one, I will tell you a story, a funny story. So during the last meeting with some curator of our team, they added some data and some resources. And the problem with these resources and these references that were from the CIA. So we found that there is a detailed data related to African population that were available on the CIA website and they're not available on the governmental website and anywhere. So I don't know what to deal with this one. So I'm always asking if we can keep these resources or not. But for the government, I don't think they will be interested to have some idea or some information related to population, because the thing that's each department is working separately. So people working on biology, genetics, they have their own stats. People working on social things, they have their own stats. Mapping all this together, maybe they would, when they use this AfPO or they will look into this AfPO, they will be interested, and we will give us some solid resources, governmental resources, that we have a real number of people or a real number of data. That's it.
So just before we let Melek go, so we've actually heard quite a few talks on population structure, and I'm just wondering if there is somebody in the audience that wants to engage on this and maybe see whether or not there is a term that maps either well or does not map. This is flat. Are you the person that they contact, or is there a certain mechanism administratively that they get hold of the ontology?
we had some scientific project we can be contact. I mean, the work was initiated by Alia and team during the Asia-Africa data harmonization group. So we can pop up an email, we can discuss, we can have a meet. I mean, we are open to any discussion regarding this part. But
please get hold of Melek after this if you are interested in trying to work on this project. And so with that, Melek, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.